All right, this is the Sam Auxier Jr. Show coming to you live from Frederick, Maryland. Yeah, downtown Frederick. Anyway, tonight we have a guest, past guest, and Wayne Millie, and we're going to talk a little bit about his passion for Bill Jenkins and what all went into a little bit of that, getting the clone car.
Yeah.
Better words. But anyway, welcome, Wayne. And
Good evening, Sam.
let's see. I know you sent me a list of things a mile long, but we'll we'll see what we got here. So you were about the same age I was whenever we started this venture of cars. You're 12 years old, and you uh, worked around a mobile station
Yes.
near where you lived, I assume was. So start from there.
It was two doors from my house, and back then they had a milk machine out in front of the gas station, and my mom give me a quarter, tell me to go buy some milk, and I'd always, walk back and forth in front of the gas station, and the guys there, they'd always have something smart to say or do something, and one day I just went to get milk and forgot to go back home, and I kind of stood there for a little bit talking to them guys, watching what they do. And then I went, oh man, I got to get home. So I took the milk home, and I come back, and I guess I kind of stood there maybe like a tree. I don't even know. It was so long ago. But for whatever reason, the guy that owned the place, he had his brother working for him and a couple other guys. And I just started weaseling my way into the place. And God knows for whatever reason why, but Frank, the guy that owned the gas station, he had two daughters. Well, at the time, my God, I don't even think one of them was born yet, but he had two girls. And I guess he thought, maybe it would have been cool to have a son. I don't know. And he just started letting me hang around. And if you're going to be here, you got to do something. Go over there and clean this or do this and do that. And I went, I'm cool. And I did. I mean, I'd clean the bathrooms. Every now and then I'd go out with his brother and they're pumping gas, and I'd help him and maybe towel the windshield on a car or something. And it just started to grow. It wasn't like it was planned. I just, for whatever reason, I instantly showed an interest in cars and being around them. And I guess they figured they could have his kid do all the dirty work and didn't cost them a dime, that we might as well keep him around.
Yeah.
And I think that's really what got me into, leading up to the years I spent working in the automobile industry. Uh, we had went on in early years back when I think there was only 5 tests for the ASE certifications, and back then it was the National Automotive Institute for Service Excellence. And I started taking a couple of them tests and learning, and really started actually working on cars. And it instantly became a passion. I'd get done school, I'd run home, get changed, go right to the gas station, and stay there till 9:30, 10 o'clock at night till we closed. On the weekends, I'd be there bright and early on Saturday, and sometimes Frank would take me out to breakfast, and then we'd come back, and then whatever he needed done, I'd do. And if he wanted me to do something, even if I didn't know how, I'd just jump right in there. And
Yeah.
fast forward all the years, we'd have some customers that had some pretty cool cars back in. We had one guy had a 62 Corvette, which when he would come in, it was like, I don't care what I was doing, I just had to stop and go look at that car. And it was good. It kept me out of trouble, number one,
Yeah.
and it almost like gave me a second father, because when my dad wasn't overlooking me, Frank was. And it was really good, and I just stayed right with it. Uh, Come time for high school, my sister had went to the local high school and went on to college. So I told my dad I wanted to go to vocational school. And he goes, "No way." He goes, "Your sister went to college and you're going to go to college." I said, "Dad, I just don't think I'm college material." And it took a little bit. He was a hard-headed Sicilian, so I know sometimes where I get that from. But it was cool. I convinced him to allow me to go to vocational school, and I worked both sides of the street. I was with auto body shop, and I also would kind of sneak over to the mechanic shop. So I was able to grasp a little bit of both of them, and I ended up working for him. And the stuff with the cars again, it just I didn't care what time of day, night it was. If there was something to do, I wanted to do it. I didn't have to be told to do it. And fast forward, I moved up. I kind of bounced around, worked for a couple different places. Uh, had a falling out when things came in when the gas shortage came around.
Oh yeah.
It was like sometimes I'd find myself working at another station at midnight, and we'd be going out and picking up our really good customers' cars, bringing them back to the gas station, filling them up in the dark, and then re-delivering the cars because they were doing, the odd even with the tags. And
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
absolutely, again, but whatever it took to get the job done.
Right.
And all of a sudden, when it was like things kind of slowed up, so I went into my like second adventure, got involved driving a truck and moved up to a tractor trailer and start running over the road. And always every now and then, like you see a sign for a racetrack when I was on the road. And if I had time, I'd figure out a way to get the whole rig down there to go see what kind of track it was. And I did that for a while. But then the passion for cars, it just pulled me back. And when I came back, I was a little older, a little wiser, and went back into turning wrenches again and realized that, if you're mediocre, you're going to make mediocre wages. And if you kind of seem to have your stuff on the ball, well, then, you got a chance of making a good living in the automobile industry.
How
And
how far were you from Bill Jenkins?
at the time, Bill was probably in Berwyn, but I mean, that as the crow flies, I don't know, maybe 35, 40 miles. Wasn't
Yeah.
like it was really far, but as a kid hanging around the gas station, I mean, you see all kind of magazines. Naturally, there's a lot of car magazines, and every now and then it'd get up a picture of one of the cars in Hot Rod magazine, and that's when I first saw Bill Jenkins. I'm thinking, man, look at this guy. He looked like, a lot of back then it was all black and white pictures, and just looking and reading some of the articles about what he does, and it was just I'm thinking like again they're right place, right time, right place, wrong time. I don't know. But that just pulled me in that much more, thinking, well, you can work on these cars all day long and take them apart, fix what's wrong with them, and put them back together. And then you read some of these articles. Well, this guy might have been working on a similar car like you had in the shop that day, but then he did this and did that. And all of a sudden, that same car was a little bit quicker than one that looked just like it. And the more I had the opportunity to work on cars, learning about what I can do to make the average repair maybe be a little bit better. But it wasn't, I guess, until later on when I built a 55 Chevy, a 4-speed. It had a 301 with dual quads in it, and that was my car to get back and forth to high school and everything else. And by then it was, somebody talk about drag racing. I knew real good what they were talking about because a few of our customers that had some, factory Ford Mustang or something like that, and we'd go out to the local drag strip, and they'd take me with them because they didn't really know a whole lot about the cars. And not that I was a genius, but I knew more than them. So they figured, well, come on, you come with me. And we started out racing out at the McGuire Air Force Base, and they had an old runway on Sundays, and
Oh
it
yeah.
kind of grew the name of Strato Rod's Dragway.
Yeah.
And going there was like, man, this is really cool. And again, you'd hear guys talking about, oh yeah, Bill Jenkins, the Grump, he did this and he did that. So it was like, even when I wasn't at that point looking to find Bill Jenkins, his picture or his name just always managed to get thrown up in front of me or around me, which
Yeah.
made me that much more curious. And
Yeah.
so again, between the magazines and the people that we worked with, and being able to go out to the drag strip, and then one day a friend of mine had a '69 Mustang with a 351 Cleveland in it, 4-speed car, beautiful car. He said, "Come on, we're going to go to Atco." And he goes, "I need somebody to give me a hand changing the tires." Well, he had a pair of old slicks shoved down the back of the car with already mounted on rims. And I'm thinking, oh man, this is cool. And we went to Atco, and like after going to Strato Rods, man, showing up at Atco, like, wow, this is a real drag strip. And back then it was a piece of asphalt surrounded by stone and gravel. But
Yeah.
every step that I took just managed to keep drawing me in. And the more you had the guys that run the Fords, the guys that run the Chevys, you had the old Mopar guys, the guys with the Tin Indians, and it just really started growing my wrath of knowledge, going like, well, this guy can do this. And then you'd read about somebody, a guy by the name of Bobby Harrop took this car, but then Bill Jenkins took this car. There's that guy Jenkins again.
Yeah.
And with that, I guess it was somewhere right around then that I really just kind of start resourcing him, seeing the stuff that they did. We were really lucky. I actually hung around this speed shop sometime, and on Fridays, anybody that was racing or anybody that had a problem with a shifter, they would bring it in to the speed shop. And on Friday, sometimes I'd forget to go to school or something, and I'd ride over to Hearst right over there in Warminster.
Yeah.
And they'd go to the back door to see the shifty doctor. I'm going, to who? And again, you get over there, and here's pictures framed, and here he is. There's Bill Jenkins
Yeah.
up on the wall, framed out, holding some kind of big trophy. And it was just like, if I ever was going to do something, I always was kind of, prior, I guess, to cars in general, I kind of took a liking to Chevy. Was it because maybe Bill Jenkins with his short stint with Mopar, and then ended up, back with the Chevrolet, starting out with the Chevy 2 and working his way up. But I was hooked.
When did you first meet Bill?
Oh my God. I think I met him as a kid, but that you can't really say I met him. But
Right.
he was at Atco, and we were at Atco, and we're all like everybody else, just trying to nose in front of the next guy to see what was going on. And oh man, that guy there with glasses, that's the guy they called a Grump. So we knew of him long before we actually knew him.
Yeah.
But
Right.
as fast forward, we were running the Roadster. We were running all around in super gas, doing different things. We
So you
decided,
had different class cars than
yeah.
Bill would be around. Yeah.
And, so we decided that we were going to build another car for my daughter. And I'm going like, okay, I found this Monza it was, I don't want to call it a kit car. It was just a bunch of parts.
Yeah.
And we ended up buying it against Judy's better wishes, but we bought it. And we just started putting it together and started doing stuff with my daughter. And everything looked like we were going in the right direction. And then all of a sudden she came home one day and said, Dad, guess why? Why? She goes, I'm pregnant. I'm going like, well, okay. That might change things now about what we're going to do with this car. So I waited a little bit, and then I don't know. We had a division race that we were running, and we were out there talking to Jake Barbado and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
got talking about Bill, and Jake goes, "Yeah," he goes, "I've been working for Bill all these years." I said, "You work for the Grump?" He goes, "Yeah." I said, "Oh man, that's gonna be so cool, you know."
Yeah.
And I came home that night, and I'm thinking like, man, I'm looking through all these pictures. I see the Chevy 2, the later Nova, you know, and I'm like, look at the Vega, the Monza. I'm thinking, man, I got this Monza sitting here in the garage. I called back. I talked to Jake. I said, I got this idea. I said, I don't know. I've seen a few of these cars out there, but I'd like to build a car like a Grumpy car and build it as a tribute to Bill. And Jake was mild mannered. He goes,
Yeah.
well,
Right.
let me run it. Let me run it by Bill. I'm like, really? He goes, yeah, okay. Well, I don't know. A couple of weeks went by. We saw him at the next race, and I said, did you ever get a chance to talk to Bill? He goes, yeah. He goes, but why don't you come on out to the shop, and this way you can talk to him face to face. So I'm going to, yeah, like, you want to go now? But I don't know, during the week came and went out there one day, and Jake was there, Mike Keogh, Brett was there. They were kind of showing us around the shop. Larry Perkins was out there. And finally I got to like officially meet Bill, shake his hand, sit down and talk to him. And at that point, like, I was on cloud nine. I'm thinking, this is a guy I read about as a kid, and he's not a myth. He's alive, standing right in front of me, and he's a legend.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, like, this is cool. So I kind of told him what I wanted to do, and he was kind of hemming and hawing around. He goes, well, some of these other guys do that too. And I said, Bill, I don't know what the other guys do. All I know is growing up as a kid, the first name in drag racing that I ever knew was Bill Jenkins. And after growing older, magazines, going to the races, you're the guy that I want to emulate. I want to be another Bill Jenkins, but I know I can't do that. So my next best thing is I would really love to build a tribute car to you in my way of saying thank you for everything that you've done for drag racing.
Now, when
So
was
good.
Wayne? When was this timeline from
This
Bill's
was
career?
probably,
Right?
well, we were still running super gas. I'm guessing it was maybe 2003, 2002, maybe. Yeah, 2003, maybe, I think. So I mean, we had fast forwarded a lot of years from when I was
Yeah.
just a kid, looking at pictures of him in a magazine.
Right.
So I was, it was maybe 2003, and so I come home and all of a sudden, man, I'm digging through every magazine that I can find that has a picture of a Monza or something in it, and we found the one, and all the toys leading up to the Monza, the very first Monza was Grumpy's toy number 12.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking like, well, I got a Monza sitting here. I said it's in 18 different shades of gray primer, and it just started on it. My neighbor down the street stopped by one day and says, what are you doing? And I told him what I was doing. He goes, oh man, he goes, you need any help? I went, yeah, I could use some help. And it became overnight passion that nothing was going to get in my way. We were going to build this tribute car to Bill.
Had to do it.
We did. And and again, I would, sometimes I would call Jake and ask Jake. He goes, well, he's got a bunch of parts upstairs. He goes, but if you want to come out and talk to him. So I said to my buddy, I said, come on, man, we're going back to Jenkins' shop. He goes, you know where Jenkins' shop is? I went, yeah, I was already there. Okay. We went out. In between, we saw Bill, and he was in the dyno room, and he was on the computer. And I said, Jake, I said, is he's over there? He goes, yeah. He goes, go ahead over there. And I'm looking, I said to my buddy, the man's on the computer. He's in the dyno room. He's probably getting ready to do something with a motor. I don't want to interrupt the guy. Jake goes, no, it's okay. Go ahead over there. So we go over there, and I'm kind of walking up from the side. So I'm looking at the side of the computer. I'm looking at him. I get behind him, and here he is sitting there playing solitaire. I'm going like, oh, man, check this out. So I kind of excused myself and told him, that Jake said you might have some parts upstairs that we could use. And he mumbled a little bit, and Jake said, all right, well, come with me. So my buddy goes upstairs. I kind of stayed down there, just kind of taking all the atmosphere in, watching different things going on. The guys are all working. And man, he comes down, covered, looked like a human dust ball, had a box of all these different pieces. He goes, you will not believe the stuff up there. And I said, well, let's go see what we're going to do. So he takes the box over, and I show it to Jake. Jake goes, well, go show the Grump. So I walk over, and I said, Bill, I said, we got this stuff upstairs. And I said, there's some molding, some headlight bezels. And I said, it's all Monza. I said, what I owe you? So he stopped playing solitaire. He kind of peeked in the box. He said, give me $100. Okay. We grabbed the parts, hauled ass back to Jersey, put some more stuff on the car,
Right.
It was at that point now, with all the pictures, the parts that are starting to fall into place, the vision that I had and I shared with my buddy. So now him and I are both on the same page. And I said to him, I'll tell you what, I said, you keep helping me with this car. And he says, and I'll get you out, and I'll get you can drive the car. We'll go to a NHRA division race. We'll make sure you got your credentials and everything that you need. And for all you're doing to help me, you can drive the car. Because unfortunately, the car was kind of small inside. I mean, it fit great for my daughter, but it wasn't going to house me.
Exactly.
And that at that point in time, now not only am I tunnel vision Bill Grumpy Jenkins, but now I got my neighbor the same way,
There you go.
And we always would talk, oh yeah, I remember when Bill did this, Bill did that. I'd come out, we'd find more magazines. I talked to Bob Fry. I told Bob Fry what I was doing. Oh, okay, that's really good. How's it coming? I said, it's coming good. So everything's coming together. I didn't have any small block stuff back then, but I still had a lot of different big blocks. Yeah. I had a little 402 that I used as a backup motor in my Roadster. So we went out, got a universal motor plate, did some tweaking, made the big block fit in this 75 Monza. And all of a sudden, it's like, we got a car. And once we got it to where it was running, I said, them cars are beautiful. They're red and white and everything. I said, I don't know if I could spray this thing in my garage. But I had friends, a guy that owned a body shop over in Burlington. A friend of mine actually worked for him. So I went over and told him what I was going to do. And it's, oh, yeah, we know the Grump. He did some motors for some of the guys that we knew. And I'm going, well, we're building a tribute car to him. I said, I showed him a picture in the magazine. I said, this is what I want to do. And I said, what do you think it would cost to paint a car like this? Yeah, I don't know. He goes, let me talk to Tommy, which was his father. And I had known his father for a long time. He goes, yeah, well, see what you can do to help him out. So now I get the guys that work for him. I got them on board. And, the family is growing. And, they say it takes a village to raise a kid. Well, it takes a village to build a nostalgia pro stock car if you don't really know what you're doing.
Can imagine. Good.
We got the car. We laid out the baseline of it. We went back out to Jenkins' shop again. By now, he goes, "Yeah, okay, you know where the stuff is. Go ahead." So Rich go upstairs and he'd come down. I found this, I found that. And I said, "Well, I saw some stuff over here. We're going to talk to Jake about." And then the grump says, "I think I got a hood scoop up there." And I'm going like, okay. I had a hood scoop that I had was like one of the newer ones, like you would see on a pro stock.
Right.
And sure enough, he says something to Jake and told Jake where he thought it was. Jake went up and come down, and here is like the one of the original snorkel scoops, minus the little whale tail that went up against the windshield.
Yeah.
And he brings it down, and we flip it over and look at it, and right in the gel coat, it says Bill Jenkins, 3 layers, extra light. And I'm going like, oh man. So we bought that and we brought it home and yanked it. That was, yeah, I mean, that was crazy. And again, still at this point, I don't know, like the kid in me would get excited every time we would go out there just to see Bill,
Yeah.
But we continued to do it, and we'd make, worked up a deal with the guys at the body shop. And when we thought we were ready, we went over there, I think like on a 7 o'clock on a Saturday morning. And we got done late Saturday night. We went back Sunday morning, and they had it in the oven for like another half hour. We rolled it out, and it was red and white,
Yeah.
And I'm going like, now you could really, man, I mean, the hype just going, man, like, look at this thing, So we drug it back out to Jenkins' shop. We get out there, and it's raining. And Jake says, well, you got I said, yeah. I said, but, I wanted Bill to see the car. This way he can see I ain't some lunatic just talking about building the car and not doing nothing.
Right.
So they open up the back garage, and Bill's old motorhome was in there.
Yeah.
And in there was a red Pontiac that I think he had got from Pontiac right around the time that he actually retired officially from drag racing. So Brett says, I think it was Brett or maybe even Mike. They take the car out and they put it outside, and they tell me to back the car in the garage. They back the trailer into the garage. We unload the car out of the back of the trailer into the shop. Jake says, I'll go get Bill. He comes out with an umbrella, walking Bill from the front building to the back building. And Bill sees his Pontiac sitting outside. Said, who put my car outside? I went, oh shit, we're in trouble now, boy. And thank God he was upset, but he wasn't that upset. Yeah. So now he's walking around this red and white car that's really starting to look like something. We were able to dig up like the old Super Tricks that they ran, and everything, everything we could buy that we could afford, we bought. And so he walked around the car, and one of the first things that he saw was I had cut the grill out a little bit in the louvered to let some air get in there. And he goes, why'd you cut that damn grill? I went, well, I needed to get air in there. And he goes, no. He goes, the air comes in from the bottom. That ain't no good. I went, okay. He's walking around the car. He's looking at the tires, and he's looking at the paint, and he's rubbing his finger from where the red meets the white. And he goes, 3/16. I went, okay. He goes, 3/16. I went, 3/16 what? Got to have a 3/16 black stripe separating them colors. I went, okay. So we were there for a little bit. Loaded the car back up, put his Pontiac back inside, come back to the house. Now, my brother-in-law, thank God, he just happened to own a print shop. And he had one of them vinyl cutters. I start showing him all these different pictures. I said, well, this is what the car looks like. So he took the magazine back to his shop, he was able to blow them up and get a pretty good idea of what they were. And I mean, we didn't have uh, no gold. Oh, my God, brain dead. But he started printing the decals, and a couple of days later, he comes back, and now he don't really know Bill Jenkins, but he's all excited about this car. So the next thing I know, he's got a bucket of soap and water, and I'm showing him where the decals have to go. We got magazines all over the place to get an idea as to
Yeah.
the proper location of the decals. And we got it all back together, and we all just stood there going like, man, and look back, 4 or 5 months ago, this thing was just nothing but another looking Monza just sitting there. But now this whole thing has become more than life. It was there, and it was. We said, it was approved by the Grump. He's the one told us what we had to do, and we took it back out there one more time, and it was really cool. It was right around the time. By the time we got the car done, Doug Boyce had wrote a beautiful book, kind of like the approved autobiography of.
Good job.
Yeah, awesome. And one of the shows out there was coming up out in Oaks, Pennsylvania, and he said, "Well, I'm going to be there signing autographs." And he goes, "You bring the car out there, you put the car on display." So Jake gave me the guy's name who was running things at Oaks, and they gave us a spot, and we loaded up, put the car up on display. And we were on one side, and then there was like a cross aisle, and that's where Bill was signing autographs. So I had walked away, and when I come back, my wife was sitting there. Judy was sitting there with the car. My buddy Rich was sitting there, and Judy's just like almost hiding behind a drape or something. And she goes, "Man, Rich has been arguing with this guy." I went, "Arguing with what guy?" Says, "That guy over there." Well, I looked. Well, here it was Larry Lombardo.
Oh.
Lombardo's telling Rich, "This is the car that I drove to the 1976 Pro Stock World Championship."
Hey,
Rich is going, "No, it ain't. Wayne and I built that in his garage." After everything settled down and we all got talking, Larry got in the car, and he thought that the car was really cool. But then I looked at my buddy Rich, and I said, he drove for Bill. He drove for Bill for probably 9 years. And I said, he was the one that won the Pro Stock Championship, and he was driving the Monza. And I looked at him, I said, if he thought that this possibly was the car that he drove, that says a lot to us that we did a pretty good job, I think,
Yeah.
And yeah, and at that point, it really, at that point, we were hook, line, and sinker, whatever it took, wherever Bill was going to be. If we could be there with him, we were going. We'd take the car, whatever whatever we had to do, and it really worked out good. We had a blast with the car. We got hooked up with a guy out of the Midwest, a guy by the name of Jeff Johnson, that used to do different things. They had some shows, and they were doing some match racing. Well, come to find out, after you're kind of find yourself in this group of having a Jenkins car, and there's a fair amount of them out there, and anything from the Nova to the Camaro to the Vega to the Monza. We meet this guy up in he's from Englishtown, Tommy Bryan. Well, he had the Monza that had the big wing on the back, the match race car.
Yeah.
And the next thing you know, Jeff Johnson says, "Well, there's this drag strip upstate New York." Said they want cars to come match race. You and Tommy want to go up there? So I went, "Yeah." We went up and we match raced up there. Now it's like, man, I mean, now we're playing the big time. We're match racing. And again, it was all because of this crazy drive to meet this guy they called the Grump, and just to see And at that point we had completely re-educated ourselves on when somebody said to Grump, you said that with the utmost respect. And you start looking through history, the different things that he designed right there in his shop.
Yeah.
The very first dry sump oil pan, I think him and Joe Stefanacci built,
Yeah.
just so much stuff of the history of the sport. And doing through all this, Darwin Dahl was working out there with Lynn Paxton from the Eastern Museum of Motor Racing. And they said, well, we bring your car out here and put it on display. And I said, well, I can't because I'm already committed to do this other thing. I said, but I'll give you my Roadster. So he said, okay, bring your Roadster out. So we took the Roadster out. We put it on display in the museum. They were getting everything ready. And this was probably like the middle of March of 2012. So Darwin says, yeah, he goes, we're going to have a big thing. He says, Diane Socks is coming up. The Grump's going to be here, and they're going to cut the ribbon and dedicate the new drag racing display.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking, oh my God. I said, okay, well, we'll be there. Well, like I said, that was probably the middle of March, right before my daughter's birthday. And March 29th, we got a phone call that Bill had passed away.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was like, like I had gotten so close to him, but yet close to him from afar. Like I wasn't family. If I walked in the door, he knew me, and naturally I knew him. But it was just like, this can't be, the guy that did all this stuff for drag racing. And now, we got to know him. We got to be able to dabble in his world. And now he's gone.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I mean, we lost one today.
I know. I saw that.
Yeah.
And, I met Wally again when Bill was still alive. We were doing the show at York every year with Darwin Dahl. And every year they try to bring in some people from, around. We had Butch Leal come in there. You were there. I remember seeing you there. And Wally Booth came. And when I met Wally and we're talking, I'm thinking like, this guy is so easygoing, low key. And I'm thinking like, how's he even fit in with some of these crazy guys that run pro stuff? But Wally was aces. He sat there signing autographs, talking, came over, was checking out the Monza. And it was really cool to get to meet him. And unbeknown to me at the time, there's a guy from, I think he's right up across the border in Wisconsin. He has both I think it was the Gremlin and the Hornet completely restored that were Wally Booth's cars.
Oh, yeah.
And again, it's just like everywhere you go, like a sponge sucking up this information about the guys that did this with Bill. And and then the day out of the clear blue sky, I see where Wally passed away.
Yeah. We got another guy listening here, looking, Mr. Jack Red.
Hey, Jack, J.A. approved. God bless Jack.
Good to see him on here. God, we owe him so much, I'll tell you.
Jack.
Yeah.
I first met Jack, and I'm thinking like, whoa, who is this guy? Yeah. I mean, he walks 2 feet above everybody else. He does not stop. And you ask him a question, he's going to give you the answer like Ed Quay. It could be a 2-word answer, but it's going to be in 6 paragraphs.
Right.
Jack's another one of them walking encyclopedias.
Oh my God, yeah. He knows. I don't know what he doesn't know. He can go back 75 years and tell you.
Yeah, And it's just a reflection of everything that we do. And I mean, you were right in the thick of it. I mean, you not only knew Bill, you raced against Bill. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I ran him in the finals in the '68. Uh, yeah, Superstock Cars magazine, whatever it was.
yeah. Oh
That time,
wow.
beat him in the final, and turn around. I had to run him again. They had
What?
this crazy rule: if you ran out, and both of
Oh,
us ran out of whatever it was, and so he said, I get back, and they said, "Well, you guys got to run it over again." I'm like, "You got to be kidding me!" So sure enough, had to run him again, and I beat him the second time, and so I was happy camper about that. But
yeah, I'm sure
and
you
then the
were.
following year, we had the Cars Magazine meet, which was huge at Cecil County, and we had them all. I ran him in the finals too, and beat him there too. So yeah, but Bill and I, we always got along. I mean, we never.
Yeah, and it's fun because everybody said, "Oh man, that guy's miserable," and
He
it's
wasn't at all.
he wasn't. But everybody that was ever around him,
Yeah,
if you asked them a question about Bill, they all gave you the same answer. So it wasn't nothing that was made up or it was pretend.
right.
If you asked Bill an honest to goodness question, he would do his best to answer that question. But if you asked him a stupid question, he'd just shake his head and walk away.
Yeah,
And I mean, I'm sure I probably asked him a couple stupid questions along the way, but I was still, trying to convince myself that what I'm doing is real. That's really Bill Jenkins I'm talking to. Because again, as a kid, he was bigger than life in them magazines. But then when you get to actually be in his shop and look around and think of the history that had run through that shop, the people that had worked for him, the the innovations that he came up with.
oh yeah,
And it's funny because a lot of people even see it today. When we had the car at Maple Grove back in September, uh, I had most of the people around me knew that the Vega that we built, we knew it was a pro stock car of one period. We had no clue as to whose car it was.
yeah.
And when we started building the Vega, it was like starting all over again, but we really didn't have anybody to reach out to find out what it was or what it was supposed to be.
Oh
And one day, out of the clear blue sky, Mike Valerio sees some pictures of the car on Facebook, and he reaches out to me and he goes, when you get a chance, check out that rack and pinion unit and tell me what that looks like. So at that point, we were pretty heavy into building the Vega. We had it on a rotisserie, and we flipped it over and looked at it, and you could see where the cross shaft came in. That about an inch from there was a nice, pretty weld. So I sent him back a text message. I said, "Yeah," I said, "there's a weld there." And he went, "Okay." And he says, "Well, that was one technique that I did." He goes, "I shortened the rack and pinion. That's where I shortened it, and that eliminated bump steer." And I went
yeah,
like,
mm,
"Okay, that's pretty cool."
yeah.
And so then we were talking, and I sent him some pictures of the rear, and he says, "That's a full floater rear in there." I said, "Yeah, it's an old style Dana, but it's a full floater." Okay. He says, "What do you see on the firewall?" I said, "Well, the car had been hacked up real bad. I mean, there was pieces of angle iron in there that somebody tried to MIG weld the angle iron to chromoly. I mean, it was ugly." And I told him, I said, "Well, there's some rivets across the face of the firewall. But when you get a chance, drill them out, see what you find."
Yeah.
Sure enough, we found this, concave notch in the firewall, and the cowl was notched a little bit to allow the engine setback and
Right.
allow the distributor to go in and out. Well, when I told him that, he put together the wishbone, the full floater rear, He goes, I built that car. So now now I got Mike on board. I really don't know Mike. I'm talking to him over the computer, And fast forward, we're getting the car done. And at this point, I'm building the car as a Grumpy's Toy tribute car. Fast forward, we had sold the Monza, and I really felt bad when I sold the Monza because I felt like everything that I'd ever worked for to get to know Bill, when I sold that car, that all went with it. So I was sitting on this Vega, and I said, well, what? We'll build the Vega. Guys were on board with me, and we pretty much started all over again. But in the back of our minds, the only thing that was cool was we knew that we were refurbishing a real pro stock car from back in the 70s, but that's all we knew. And as we continued to proceed with the car, I had found some pictures, old black and white pictures, and it was from Valchem out in Cleveland, Ohio. Well, that pretty much sealed the deal. Mike Valerio saw them pictures, and I think at that point we had shared phone numbers, so we were talking back and forth on the phone. I'm looking at the pictures, he's looking at the pictures, and he goes, yeah, that car on the jig, that's the car that you're working on right now. That guy standing by the jig, that's Robert Heiner. And all of a sudden, the history started flowing into this car.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking like, wow, if I would have known that a year ago, as much as I missed my other Grumpy's Toy car, we probably would have did this thing as what it was, a Heiner and Miller car.
Right.
And now I get Michael Heiner involved. I'm chasing him through Facebook. Then I find out, well, he's the crew chief for the Get Biofuel Derek Kramer car. So Mike, who was traveling the circuit, working with Todd Tutterow, doing pro mod stuff, working with Mark Powick and stuff like that. Well, next thing you know, 2 years ago, when we had the car at Maple Grove, we got to meet Michael Heiner. And then this year was like, if you ever wanted to really see and appreciate something that you did yourself, was the response of all the other people that were around us. We sat there, Joe Costello from NHRA. I had sent Joe a lot of information on the car. He knew Mike Valerio, and he knew Michael Heiner. So at Maple Grove,
he did a great job on that video.
It was amazing. And again, man, I'm in my glory. I'm doing what I learned to do years ago, hanging around a gas station, and every day I like to think I still get a little better doing it.
Right.
And the way he walked us through, him and I started talking about the car, how it came to be, a tribute car to Bill Jenkins. And then when we got to the point when we found out about the car, what it was, he paused. He brought in Mike Valerio. And then Mike filled in all the gaps that I had left, updating them on the car. And then when we got to where the car was built for, for Robert Heiner and Jerry Miller, enters Michael Heiner. And now the whole history of this car is pretty much laid out in front of everybody. And I really hope that the crazy people like me that live on Facebook and do nothing but look for this stuff all day long got to appreciate, because it told the true story of the car, where it was, how it was built, who campaigned the car, and yet at the same time, how we took that car and continued to use it to pay tribute to Bill Grumpy Jenkins.
Bill Jenkins. Well, that's a great story, Wayne. I'm glad you around to do it. So that's the main thing. we keep losing people.
Yeah, it's that's sad. And it's, I guess, it's our time. when I would get upset sometimes and I'd look back at stuff, my cousin had a way of calming me down. He says,
Right.
just stop, take a deep breath, and you got to remember, we're the parents now, and it comes across in a way to where it makes you stop and think, well, yeah, what you did as a kid, now your parents put up with you, but now your parents are gone, and now your kids are 40 and 50 years old, and now you're the one that's dealing with them. So
Yeah, I was lucky myself to have uh, Bob in Washington State that bought my '69 car, which was in terrible condition. Uh, but Bob Lindstrat actually paid the money and pretty much gave me a blank check to have it restored, which was a big job, huge
yeah.
job. But we did it, and I guess that was like 10 and in 2022. Then he flew me out to uh, yeah, Barrett Jackson, and they actually let you drive the car up on stage. I did that,
Oh,
and then we sold it right on, because you have no reserve on
right.
Barrett.
Okay.
You have to sell it or buy it back yourself, which no one likes doing that. But anyway, that car sold, and the '65 Comet we had, AFX car,
Oh,
that
wow.
actually sold through Meekin, and that was the highest price car I ever seen go through for one of those cars. It was $313,000. What it
Wow.
went for, I have no idea. Uh, yeah, I guess
You know,
they got the money. Those guys, that hang out at those places.
yeah.
So it's a lot of fun to watch them spend it.
Yeah, and like I said, for me, naturally, I couldn't afford to do nothing like that, so I had to take the talent that I kind of grew up, that became a way of life for me. I
Right.
was able to use, to start putting the cars together. Again, my friends, John Juvenelli and Rich Griner. If it wasn't for them, we would have never gotten the car to where it belonged. And then we got another guy that, I mean, when you look at some of the TIG welding, and you could see it looked like somebody laid out a roll of dimes. Well, a guy by the name of John Reuter, we would get all the bars set up where we wanted them, where they belong. And John would come in on the weekend when he wasn't working, and he would weld everything. So again, it was a village, starting with Judy, uh, my neighbor down the street, and so many people. When we relettered this car, we did like the fancy gold leaf and everything the way it was. Steve Bell was involved with it, and I learned a lot building the Monza, and I learned even more building the Vega. And if I could afford to do it, I'm sure Judy beat me over the head with a shovel, but I'd build another one if I could, because I learned so much as a
Right.
kid looking in magazines, and now having these parts in your hand that were developed, you know, 50, 60 years ago, and they're still working today in pro stock. The vacuum pumps, the wishbones,
Yeah.
just so much. And again, man, I'm like a little kid when it comes down to it, and I'm just real happy to be able to own a very little piece of it and do my best that I could to,
Yeah.
pay tribute to Bill. And on the other hand, as we're talking about it, you know, we lost Wally Booth today. Uh, our condolences go out to the friends and family of Wally.
Yeah.
And it's I honestly believe it's that much more important that people like me do what I do, because we need people to resurrect or
Keep it alive.
save,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, just, I mean, the show that you do, that becomes an avenue for us to be able to sit here, talk to you about it. And you yourself, being a living legend, you didn't know these guys. They were your friends. You raced with these guys. You raced against them. And I can't even imagine how cool that had to be.
No, it was, but we didn't really realize it at the time. We just
Yeah, you were just having fun and hope you make a couple bucks.
right, exactly. So
Not more, just a couple.
he was alive, yeah, right. So, all right, well, we're going to have to wrap it up here. We're going to be out of time here to be a reasonable. We're approaching almost 1 hour, so
Oh boy.
that's
Time
enough.
flies, man. Fun.
Right. All right, Wayne, we appreciate it, and we appreciate all your time and effort and all this that you put into this type of car and that type of thing, and it's really just we need everybody we can to keep some of it going at least, so but it's out there, so
Yes, sir.
we just have to put as much together as we can while there's still some out there.
Yeah, and again, if it wasn't for you, the people might not know exactly what we do and what it takes to do this. And at the same time, there's still some buried treasures out there. There's still a lot of cars that weren't scrapped that could be sitting. You see so much with these so-called barn finds, and
well, I never found my 64 AFX Comet. Never.
that would be like to find that. Wow.
Yeah. No, I have no idea, but
That would be so cool to find something like
searches
that.
and everything else. But anyway, all right, sir. We thank you for the evening, and those of you who want to look at it again or find it, or you can go on YouTube. It'll be on Facebook, but YouTube is primary.
Sam, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to share what little bit of knowledge I have, to share the car. We're a day late, but want to give a shout out to our United States military, because if it wasn't for what they do, we wouldn't be able to be here doing what we're doing tonight, sir.
That's right. And one more thing, I want to, my God, give congratulations to Joey Logano for
Oh yeah, he's sold up the championship. Wasn't that great?
He's headed stardom land.
Yeah, that's
it's great. So
top shelf. And now this coming weekend we'll set the final score for NHRA out at Pomona.
Yeah, that's right. So anyway, take a look at it. I think it's on it's on Fox. Yeah, FS1. So anyway, thank you guys. Thank everyone for listening, and we shall talk to you later on.
Thank you very much.